All right, Greg, the often ignored NFC South is front and center this week. It's I guess we'll call it a dramatic division race, maybe not an overly good division race. Three teams below 500. All right, let's start with the division leaders. It kind of feels like the Buccaneers fell off. They start 3-1, they go to 3-5, and then we look up around the holidays and they're leading the division. They play the Green Bay Packers up at Lambeau this weekend. I'm curious for your perspective. It's an interesting spot for the Bucs to be because they're leading the division, very much have a shot at the playoffs, but the inkling around the league is that depending on how this goes, Todd Bowles could also be out of a job by the end of the season. So what's the status there? And I'm not asking you to predict the future, but what's your sense on where this might be headed?
Yeah, Bucks, control their destiny, which you can say the same thing about the Saints, but the next two are tricky. I mean, at the Packers, at home against the Jaguars, two teams that are also very much on thin ice for playoffs and trying to stay in it and worry about seeding. So no, the nice thing for the Bucks is for them, if they beat the Saints and the Panthers in their last two games, they got a really good chance of making the playoffs. Even if they just split the next two, going to Lambeau is tough. They won there obviously in the playoffs in 2020, had a different quarterback then. But yeah, it's one of those where, if they show up and play one of their better games of the year, it's a game they can win. Packers just lost to the Giants on Monday. So, I mean, anything's possible there. But if they don't play well, if they don't, win the turnover battle, that's a place you can go and lose. And now they're probably back on the outside looking in.
So with that in mind, what do you see from the Bucs? Like, I mean, again, 6-7. The old adage is that you're as good as your record says you are. But I would argue the Bucs have played some solid football at times this year. Like, I don't know that Baker Mayfield's really getting enough credit for what he's been doing there. But again, 6-7 with at least a couple pretty ugly losses on the schedule. I mean, where is this team better than the sum of their parts, or is this team, for as many big names as they have, maybe still kind of underachieving relative to what they're capable of?
Yeah, it's a little both. It's one of those where I feel like they could end up at 8-9 like they were last year, and it'd be a very different 8-9. A year ago they still had Tom Brady, were seen as a Super Bowl contender in the NFC, and you kind of back into a losing record and a division title, and even that you get crushed by Dallas in the first round of the playoffs. So this is the opposite. This is a team that didn't bring Brady back and has $90 million on players who aren't on the team. Vegas had them as one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. So if they salvage 8-9, 9-8, it's kind of a win. Fans are kind of divided here in Tampa. Some, want a high draft pick, want a new coach. Others, still know that this is a franchise that's only had so many division titles. So if you can go get one, it'd be 3 in a row for them. And even in a bad division, that's still an accomplishment. There's only so many banners they have hanging here. So that'll mean something. And again, like you said, they've had some bad losses. Falcons, Texans, games they could have won, should have won. And then they've really not held their own. I mean, the games they've played against the elite teams in the NFL, the Niners, the Eagles, the Lions, they have not played well in those games. So I think it's one of those where I don't think anybody expects them to be making the conference championship game. But for this team under these circumstances, I think they'd be happy if they can win the division and be competitive in a playoff game.